It took them 7 long years, many mistakes and missteps along the way, but finally, Nintendo is playing smart, and Virtual Console has arrived on Switch. Plus, are they prepping the waters for the next Mario game? Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. If you didn't know, I also work for Ascendant Studios, and man, I got big things cooking. But this is Good Morning Mario, where we cover everything you need to know about Nintendo and even some things you don't need to know, but will definitely make your day better. All about generating smiles here, spreading them far and wide. So before we get to our main topic, let's kick it off with Mario. A new Mario game is something that everybody wants. It's been a long freaking time. It's crazy to think that the Switch is as successful as it is with uno major Mario game. One mainline new game. I mean, yeah, Bowser's Fury was like an add-on to 3D World. They did the whole 3D All-Stars collection. Mario's played every sport under the sun. But in terms of mainline Mario, it's Odyssey. Well, maybe there'll be Mario Odyssey 2 or maybe something brand new because Nintendo has changed the render for Mario. Now, I know, this isn't like a rumor, this isn't like a leak, this is just like a little, but I think I'll tip my hat to the fact that Mario has gotten a little bit deeper. Like, literally, his eyes are deeper, there's more depth here to his face, and I love that Nintendo goes in and subtly changes these renders of their favorite characters. We've seen it happen with Donkey Kong. Mario is getting the treatment. Will this lead to a new Mario game? The answer is yes. Inevitably, there will be a new Mario game. Is this the hint that tells us the new Mario game is soon to be announced? Probably not. But I do think it's cool. And also, with the Mario movie releasing, they did keep Mario very game Mario. So you don't have to worry about your Chris Pratt messifying your game Mario. Right now, those universes will stay separate. Although, I wouldn't be surprised at a later date to see some sort of crossover. Especially if we get a sequel movie. And if this one does well, Nintendo's gonna do it. Now, hopefully what Nintendo also does is get creative. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and the Course Booster Pass have an amazing opportunity. There's 5 more character slots alongside Birdo. It really bolsters what a Course Booster Pass can be. It adds a second booster. Now Diddy Kong can jetpack around. Speaking of Diddy Kong, he should be in the game. A new league popped up and I am super about this one. And I wanted to just warn you in case you see this leak pop up and in case you get depressed. There's sort of a boring list of characters Nintendo could add to the next couple waves of Mario Kart. And then there's a really fun and exciting list where they really just lean into the Switch heavily. This list comes from a look inside the game files of Mario Kart Tour. This comes from Dylanarus on Twitter, and they're taking a look at the Mario Kart Tour Cup order. The file order. And based off this file order, they've determined that the next 5 DLC characters are, in order, Pauline, Petey Piranha, Nabbit, Diddy Kong, and Hammer Bro. Now, this is not the main list that we've kind of hypothesized that would include Funky Kong. This is a slightly adjacent list. You do get Pauline, and you do get Diddy Kong, which are superific. You don't get any of the like crazy fun characters like Kirby or Samus, and you don't get Funky Kong. So this list has been met with like, oh geez, they're playing it super safe. Nintendo doesn't want to take chances. In all seriousness, the final list will probably look something like this, but I don't know that the Mario Kart Tour Cup order really is all that revealing. Remember, they started developing this Course Booster Pass well after Mario Kart Tour was in existence and in many ways thriving. So when you see this leak pop up, when you see people talking about the list is established, it's boring, maybe don't give up yet. By all accounts, Nintendo will probably be boring, but I don't think that this is the reason why, or this is like a super accurate leak, if we even want to call it that. I think this is trying to read more into the cup order of Tour and how they would line things up for release than it is actually what's happening. There's sort of these blank spaces and they're kind of tying that into what characters it would be. But I don't know. I don't think these naturally have to align perfectly. And I'm still holding out hope for some really fun racers being added and Nintendo getting a little creative as they move through the final waves of the Course Booster Pass that will carry us through the rest of the year. We'll find out eventually, but for now, still 5 mysteries. Diddy Kong would be great. Pauline seems like a must. The others, though, like give me Kamek, Samus, and Kirby. Who would you like to see in the Mario Kart DLC? And are you that this 5 is not necessarily the final 5? All right, good guy Nintendo doing smart stuff. I love to see when they just wisen up and make the good moves, and they completely change the narrative on Switch Online by doing something that they should have done from the beginning. It's taken 7 years for them to get to this point, and I remember way back when the number one wish I had for Switch was like Virtual Console. Why, when you have this established for past handhelds and past home consoles, do you not do it on Switch? And it took them 7 years of slow going and floating down the river of irregular releases for NES and Super NES, eventually adding N64, and finally, by golly, putting Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. I talked about how Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pack are finally super worth it. And now with what they did in terms of their new releases for Switch Online, I feel like we've achieved Virtual Console. Maybe it wasn't Virtual Console when it was like a slight selection of NES games and a couple SNES hits, but now my friends, with Game Boy Advance greats, with Game Boy titles in there, and with Nintendo deciding to release a full cavalcade of March releases across Game Boy, Super Nintendo, and NES, it's Virtual Console. They did Metroid Fusion last week, and now, right away, they're bringing Kirby's Dream Land 2, which is the Kirby that introduces Animal Friends. This is where Kirby can ride the hamster and all that good stuff. Gooey! I think Gooey's in this one. Is Gooey in this one? Gooey better be. This is the Game Boy version that is simple, but very classic. And then Burger Time Deluxe also added on the GB front. Side Pocket is the billiards game of choice for Super Nintendo, and Xevious on the NES. That list of games may not wow you, but what should wow you is they're all together. This is a March release that includes NES, SNES, and Game Boy, and they just did a GBA, and they probably coming back with an N64. No longer do we wait and wonder, what randomness are they going to give us, and is it even a system I care about? Now they're hitting all of their pillars. And I'm telling you, it feels like Virtual Console. We don't get to buy the games individually, but in many ways, $4.15 a month for the expansion pack serves you up new games every month, a Game Boy Advance classic, and the library of already existing titles. At the end of the day, we don't own them, but do we really own them at all? I actually now like what we have here. It took forever, and it started off really slow. And in no way would I have called the earlier iteration of Switch Online Virtual Console. Even when they added the expansion pack, it still felt a bit of a mess. But now, you're basically getting Virtual Console with new additions monthly, and your $4.15 allows you to play the Mario Kart Booster Pass, the Splatoon 2 DLC, the Animal Crossing DLC, and hopefully more. Hopefully more gets added into that fray, and it just becomes a better and better value. And I would much rather pay $4 a month and get a bunch of new games than, say, spend $5 a month on an NES release, or $8 a month on a Super Nintendo release, or $10 a month on an N64 release. Remember, it did get pricey over time. And now for $50 a year, you get all their new releases, all their already established releases, and the catalog is finally great. Plus these perks of being involved in pretty modern DLC and exciting new release DLC like the Mario Kart Booster Pass. It's Virtual Console. We have the systems, we have the games, and the release is becoming regular. I'm totally fine with a grab bag of NES, SNES, and Game Boy for the base subscriber base, and then, hey, one Game Boy Advance and one N64 a month. I really, really hope that they won't alternate GBA, N64, GBA, N64. I hope that they give us one of each per month and keep the goods flowing. The N64 lineup is not that huge, but eventually they could transfer to 2 GBA games, or a GBA game and a GameCube game. But for now, like, this feels like Virtual Console. And I know some of you will disagree. Some of you will say, I want to pick it a la carte. I don't want to be locked into their membership. But tell me, isn't there enough good Switch Online games anyways to be paying for Switch Online between Mario Kart, Splatoon, Smash Brothers, and more? Animal Crossing, I mean, so many titles take advantage of the online, and even if they're not the greatest implementation, the online has improved, and the Virtual Console side has come a long way. It's a totally different picture when we have regular releases, a grab bag from all consoles, and the incorporation of handheld titles on the Switch, so this truly is Nintendo's ultimate nostalgic hybrid. You can play your favorites on the go, you can play their favorites at home, And you can play the newest as well. And you don't have to worry about which games you bought, which ones you didn't. They just released your favorite. You spent all your money. You just subscribe and you're good. In some ways, people could complain that that's taking advantage and feels like a subscription model that everyone is using. But remember, Nintendo's subscription model is notably cheaper than all the others. Your Netflix account costs 3 times as much as your Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack membership. Your HBO, when you're watching The Last of Us or Station 11, that costs double and triple the price of Nintendo Switch Online, expansion pack, virtual console, all of it. I think it's great value, and I'm so glad to see that they released 4 games across 3 platforms, because it finally feels like Nintendo is capitalizing on their catalog. I may not love any of these games, although Kirby's Dream Land 2 is one I do have fond memories of for that Animal Pal riding action. As long as they deliver a regular release from their premium tier consoles, N64 and I guess Genesis and Game Boy Advance, this is beautiful. And I applaud Nintendo for finally getting Switch Online right, possibly in the last year of the system. It took them a long time, kind of funny and a little bit depressing when you put it that way, but at the end of the day, we're eating, and I love to eat Nintendo goodies with you. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Thanks again. SwitchForce, out.